Trump administration to force foreigners in the U.S. to apply for a green card abroad. Foreigners in the U.S. who want a green card will need to leave and apply in their home country, the Trump administration announced Friday, in a surprise change to a long-standing policy that sowed confusion and concern among aid groups, immigration lawyers, and immigrants. It should say, like, amongst immigration lawyers and immigrants, but all right, it's weird grammar. For over half a century, foreign nationals with legal status have been able to apply for and complete the entire process for permanent residence in the United States, including individuals married to U.S. citizens, holders of work and student visas, and refugees and political asylum seekers, among others. The announcement from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services said foreigners who are in the U.S. temporarily and who want to apply to become lawful permanent residents or green card holders have to return home and apply there, except in quote-unquote extraordinary circumstances. The USCIS officers would decide whether applicants meet those. Non-immigrants, like students, temporary workers, or people on tourist visas, come to the U.S. for a short time and for a specific purpose. Our system is designed for them to leave when their visit is over. Their visit should not function as the first step in the green card process, the agency said in a statement. It is the latest step in the Trump administration making legal immigration more difficult for foreigners already in the U.S. and for those hoping to come here. This seems kind of weird. Like, how are you supposed to know that you want to move somewhere unless you've already visited there, right? Like, we already have a very onerous, very difficult process of getting a tourist visa or even having any way of getting in the country. You can't just book a flight to the U.S. from any country and get your way in for, a tourist visa amount of time. Like, you can't just do that. Like, you have to go through the embassy, consulate, you have to do interviews, you have to do a whole bunch of stuff, right? There's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to come and visit the U.S. from another country. It depends on the country. Some countries are, the hoops you have to jump through are there's more hoops you got to jump through, but it's not exactly easy. And so, if you've already made it here, I would, and you really enjoy it here, I would think that we would want to give them the ability to stay here, especially if it was something through marriage or something, right? Like, I know some people use the marriage loophole. You marry somebody who's a U.S. citizen and then you can get your green card or whatever and you can stay here. But that's probably realistically only a small percentage of people who are actually doing that. I would imagine the majority of people who are getting married to a foreigner like that is because they're actually in love, or I would give them the benefit of the doubt, at least in that regard. Hundreds of thousands apply for green cards from the U.S. each year. The goal of this policy is very explicit. Senior officials in this administration have said over and over that they want fewer people to get permanent residency because permanent residency is a path to citizenship, and they want to block that path for as many people as possible, end quote. Wow. They aren't mincing words there. They don't even give a reason. It's just they just don't want them. They just don't want foreigners here, said Doug Rand, a former senior advisor at USCIS during the Biden administration, who added that about 600,000 people already in the U.S. apply each year for a green card. USCIS did not say when the change would come into effect, whether individuals would be required to remain in another country throughout the entire process, or whether the policy impacts foreigners whose green card applications are already underway. I don't see how any way that they could apply it to people whose green card application is already underway and they're already here. I could see them somehow maybe implementing this policy for people moving forward whenever you apply. But I have a feeling that if this went to immigration judges or something, if they were trying to kick out somebody who was already here under the pretext that they could stay here during their green card application, and then they try and kick them out midway through, even though they started the process a year ago or however many months ago or something, I have a feeling that a judge would be like, no, you can't do that. But moving forward, yeah. In an emailed statement to the Associated Press, the agency said people who provide an economic benefit or a national interest could likely stay in the U.S., while others would have to go abroad to apply. Yeah, all right. I hate the idea of that, right? They're going to use it selectively to let rich people stay here if they want. This is not it doesn't take a whole lot of conjecture or a whole lot of analysis to understand what they mean by economic benefit and national interest, right? They're going to let rich people stay here because the rules don't apply to them. So if you're a rich foreigner who's coming here and applies for a green card, they'll let you stay here because you're going to spend your foreign dollars here or whatever. Or if maybe you're some super high-level nuclear scientist that's going to work for the CIA or for the military or something like that, I guess they'll let you stay there. And that one's a bit more understandable because you're getting here on merit. But the fact that you're just here because, just because you're rich and we're going to let you stay here, but we're going to apply different rules to the poor people is so gross. Let us not forget what's literally written on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Unless you're a poor foreigner, in which case, get out of here, get out of here. Come on, we've strayed so far from that. It's amazing. The founding fathers, or the people who approved putting that on the Statue of Liberty, at least, would be disgusted. The changes come on top of steps the administration has already taken to restrict and limit entry for people from dozens of countries. In some cases, there are outright bans on travel from those countries, while people from others face pauses in visa processing. Experts and attorneys warned that forcing people from those countries to return home to apply for a green card would result in them being barred from coming back. If families are told that the non-citizen family member must return to his or her country of origin to process their immigrant visa, but immigrant visas are not being processed there, it's a catch-22. These policies will effectively create an indefinite separation of families, wrote World Relief, a humanitarian and refugee resettlement organization. It is also be super, super expensive to have to do back and forth flights. I just don't really see any good reason that you would do that. And also, why would you, now that I think about this more, why would you want to keep the poor people, the poor immigrants out, right? They're the ones that are going to have to be taking on the more entry level type positions that a lot of Americans don't want to take, or farmhand type positions, right? They're going to be directly contributing to the economy of this country, probably and arguably more so than just foreign dollars coming in from rich people being spent at luxury clothing stores or something, right? These people are going to be coming in and filling jobs. I don't really understand. It's not like they're, if you don't have a social security number, you're not eligible for like social program benefits and whatnot. So it's not like you can make the argument, or that classic misleading argument, that these foreigners are going to come here and just be a suck on the system, right? I don't think that's actually the case. Or I would think you'd want the poor people to come here so that they could fill these low-paying jobs that provide a lot of economic benefit to the business owners and to people with college degrees and people with high school degrees who are established actual citizenry who benefit from immigration. My understanding is that the only group in the United States who does not benefit from immigration economically are those without a high school diploma or GED. Every single other economic group in the United States, natural citizens, benefit from immigration, from immigrants coming here and working these lower level jobs, right? It expands the economy, it grows everything upward, and it makes their positions more valuable. So, confusion over who the change applies to. The USCIS described the change as a return to, quote, the original intent of the law and closing a loophole. But immigration lawyers and aid groups pushed back, saying it was longstanding practice for many groups to be able to adjust their status in the U.S., and that many people couldn't return home because it wasn't safe or they had no embassy to apply at. The U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan, for example, has been closed since the U.S. pullout in August 2021. That's a great point I didn't think about, is that so many of these places are so anti-American that if you signal that you're trying to immigrate to America, that could cause some, not only they're saying the inability to reapply or to finish the process from abroad entirely, but you could get pushback from local political groups, your family members back there, friends, paramilitary type stuff. There are all sorts of different scenarios in less fortunate countries where if it becomes known that you're an American sympathizer and you want to move here, you want to become an American citizen, you could see some serious backlash because of that. USCIS is trying to upend decades of processing of adjustment of status, said Shev Dalal Deni, Senior Director of Government Relations at the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Quote, this all applies very broadly to anyone seeking a green card. Among them could be individuals married to U.S. citizens, immigrants with humanitarian protection who are applying for a green card, and holders of work visas, including doctors and professionals, as well as student and religious visa holders, the attorney noted. These seem like the exact groups of people that you would want to be here regardless of their economic status, right? First off is the married to US citizens, right? Well, who are you going to piss off, and who are you doing a disservice to if you kick out their married loved one they happened to meet when they were, on vacation in Spain? Well, it's going to be the US citizen who's having their wife or their husband just kicked out of the US because their green card process isn't finished or whatever. Like, that's a big middle finger to them. Immigrants with humanitarian protection who are applying for a green card. Well, of course, like, as the wealthiest country in the history of the world, the US, we want to be a haven for, for people who have legitimate asylum claims like this. Like, that's one of the things that has, like, made America stand out for so long amongst all these others, is that it has been a place that, like, it's been a true melting pot. People can come here and ensure a much better life than the place that they were seeking asylum from. Holders of work visas, like I mentioned before, you want poor work visa holders to come here so that they can work these entry level type positions, who in like farmhand type stuff, who are arguably being exploited. But who's doing the exploiting? It's going to be American citizens who own these businesses. They're going to be the ones that are economically benefiting from this. And like I said, all these other demographics economically benefit from immigrants coming here and working. Doctors and professionals, of course, you want, because I'm pretty sure we have a huge doctor shortage in the US. I mean, just look at how expensive healthcare is, right? And that's not necessarily just because of a doctor shortage, but can definitely contribute. If we have more doctors here, it will probably bring down the cost of healthcare, at least in some way, to some extent. And student and religious visa holders, these people come here and spend, I don't know about the religious visa holders, but the student ones come here and spend a lot of money at our universities. It is very expensive to get international tuition at many of these universities across the US, right? I just graduated from UTD, I just graduated from UTD like a week and a half ago or something, right? And there's like a huge foreign immigrant student population there, right? I heard it was something like 40% or whatever. I know it dipped off the last like year or so since Trump got elected in 2024, but my understanding is that it was somewhere around 40%. And all those people are paying $20,000+ a semester to go to this school, right? And this is the case in universities across the country. And in a way, that sort of subsidizes to some extent, the domestic students, the people who are getting in-state tuition or even in-district tuition, who are only having to pay a couple $1,000s a semester, or maybe even less if they have good scholarships and whatnot. So seems like the exact kind of people that you want to keep here, not the ones you want to be kicking out. At some U.S. consulates abroad, wait times for a visa appointment could take up to more than a year, said Dalal Denny. Yeah, like you can't have somebody, especially if they somehow allow them to kick out people who are already undergoing the green card process, started it months ago, a year plus ago or whatever, right? You can't kick them back to their country and then make them like be beholden to the potentially like inept and very slow and archaic bureaucratic system in their home country to try and finish the green card process there. Like, it just seems completely unnecessary. It's like, we're not facing an overpopulation problem here. Like, that would be one of the ways that I can maybe see this making sense, is if like we had a serious overpopulation problem here, but we definitely don't. And arguably we're underpopulated in some ways. Like, immigration very directly economically benefits us. And also considering that our birth rates for domestic citizens is like below sustainable rates. I'm pretty sure it's below 2 at this point. We need immigration to keep our population growing at a steady rate, which is absolutely necessary for modern economics, for modern capitalism, for the way economies work to continue to function, and to continue to remain hegemonic in the world stage, to continue to remain one of the world powers. I mean, just look at like places like Russia, who have a really bad birth rate, right? They're putting aside the war and stuff, they were experiencing economic problems related to their below sustainability level birth rates prior to the initiation of the war. Organizations that provide legal and other assistance to immigrants said they were hearing from clients concerned about what the new guidance would mean for them. It's really hard to tell how this is going to be applied, said Jesse DeHaven, senior staff attorney at the California Immigration Project, a nonprofit that provides legal services to low-income immigrants. They really need a comma right here between Immigration Project and a nonprofit, but whatever, that would make it easier to read. Quote, I do think it might have a chilling effect on people applying. Yeah, I would think so, right? I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't know if I would call it a chilling effect because that implies that it's sort of like indirect. But this isn't indirect, right? If people know that they're gonna have to like stay in their home country in their bad conditions or potentially bad conditions abroad while they're going through this process, they probably are going to be less likely that to start the process in the first place. That's not Doesn't take a genius to make that analysis. Yeah, I just don't understand the point of this. It seems counterproductive to the economic interests when we kick out workers who are, potentially filling low entry level positions, or doctors, or other skilled laborers as well. Anybody on the labor spectrum we're kicking out because of this is a bad idea. We're also doing a disservice to our fellow U.S. citizens who may be marrying somebody who's a foreigner. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing it not because they're trying to game the system to give their whoever they're marrying a green card, but that they're actually in love and that they should have the right to be with their spouse in their home country if they so choose, right? And as an American, I think that's very reasonable. I don't know, it just seems like a very strange decision. I can't I have a hard time coming up with very many good faith arguments, especially the way things are now for why you would want this to happen.